Today, I'd like to share with you a card game called Illimat. This card game is actually released in collaboration with the Decemberists, if you know that band. This is my personal copy of the game that I acquired at a convention some time ago. It's one of my favorite card games. So let's read the back here. A modern classic card game for 2 to 4 players. Today we'll be playing a solo variant. Illimat has the style and flavor of a classic card game with a dynamic twist. As you play, you combine cards and collect them, trying to gather more than your opponents. But hidden luminaries and changing seasons can alter your plans. Let's take a look inside. Instructions or a rules booklet. Tells us how to play and what to do on our turns. It also explains how each of the luminaries work. So we'll be referring to this as we play. Also in here I have my personal victory book. This does not come with the game itself. This is a separate item. But within this, we can track our personal bests and see some different variants of play. In this book is actually the variant we'll be playing today. Which is a Solitaire variant. We'll also be referring to this as we play. Here's the deck of cards. We'll open that in a bit. Let's take a couple pieces out here. And we have our stones to keep score. tokens that come with the game. I'll show you these. Here we have some sort of squire. And here we have a sailboat. One of my favorite tokens that it comes with, the bathtub. Let's see if I can have a better way to show you this. And the tooth. So it comes with those 4 tokens as well as these 4 score keeping stones. These are nice. We won't be using these in the Solitaire variant. These are for each player to keep track of their score during play. Also in this bag we have our Luminary cards. And I'll show you the art on these because they're really beautiful. Here we have the Maiden. The Changeling. And the Children. The Newborn. The River. The Rake. The Forest Queen. And the Union. Each of these luminary cards, when revealed, will change the gameplay. Some are more difficult than others. And now we've come to the last piece in the box, and I will make some room for it. What we have left here is the board that we'll be playing on. It's this beautiful cloth game board. And I'm going to spread it out for us. And in the center of the board will go the Illimat itself. Let me show you this. The Illimat sits at the center of the board, and on each side is a season that will dictate what one can do in each of its respective fields. And we'll talk about it more later. Now let's open the deck of cards. The deck includes 4 of these rule cards that can be given to each player to help them decide what to do on their turn. And here is the deck itself. Let me show you the back. With the initiate symbol on the back, this beautiful art. There are 5 suits in Illimat. We have winter, autumn, spring, summer, and stars. The value of the cards go from 1 to 14, and the 1 and 14 are the Fools and can be played as either a 1 or a 14. So, I'm not going to do an excellent job of shuffling these, but just enough to get us going. And we can start playing our first round together. Normally, this would be a 2 to 4 player game. Each player would take a side of the board where the numbers are, and the numbers keep track of their score. We won't be doing that in this variant, since we're playing by ourselves. That will be fine for now. And before I deal them out, sorry about that. Before I deal them out, I'm going to shuffle the luminaries and place them on the board. One in each corner. Okay, now that the luminaries are on the board, I'm going to do one last cut here and deal our cards. 3 in each field. Okay. This is the general setup of the board. In the Solitaire variant, I will be drawing 4 cards to play from as my hand. Oh dear. You know, perhaps I should have done a better job. That's okay. You know, sometimes you just get lucky. Or unlucky, as the case may be. Okay, so let's look at this play card and we'll talk about what we can do on our turn. The play. Play 1 card from your hand, choose 1 field, and perform one of the following actions. So, discard your card into the field, harvest, collect cards that match the value of your cards, and stockpile. Combine your card with 1 or more cards in the field, either to create a new value or to create a stack of multiple cards with the same value. Our goal in this variant is to collect cards, reveal the luminaries in the corners, and collect them. Once we collect all 4 luminaries, that is a victory. But we can only play the cards in our hand in the order in which they were dealt. So in this case, the Fool of Stars is our first card that we have to play, and then the Fool of Autumn, and so on. We won't be drawing new cards until we play the entirety of our hand. So, let's think about our first move and begin playing. So we have a Fool of Stars, which is a 1 or a 14. And I am going to collect a value that is equal to a 1 or a 14. And we have here a 9 and a 5, which equals 14. So I can play the Fool of Stars to harvest this 9 and this 5, since their values equal 14. But I cannot, as the Illimat says, it is winter in this field. So that is not a move I can make. What else do we have with this 14? Not much that I am seeing. So I can now either sow or stockpile. Looking at the other cards in my hand, coming up, we have another 14, and we have a 12 and a 13. What I will do is stockpile this Fool of Stars onto this 11 of winter, making it a 12 in value. Our next card is another Fool. Due to my excellent shuffling, I neglected one rule here. When you play a face card, the Illimat turns and changes seasons. We played a Fool of Stars, which is a wild in this case. So I will do us a favor and make it spring in its field. Which has now opened up this field. So I can play my Fool of Autumn as a 14 to collect this 5 and 9 like I want it to do. Next we have the Queen of Stars, which I will use now to harvest the 12 we made earlier. Again, I can turn the Illimat with the Queen of Stars, but I'll pass for now, I think. And the King of Spring. What can we do with a 13? Not much. So my only option here is to sow the card. There's no real, I can't really think of a good place to sow the card, so I'm going to put it here. And it won't rotate the Illimat as it's already spring in that field. And so we draw a new hand. Oh dear. Really, really poor shuffling on my part. But that's okay. And on 11, a night of summer. And of course, we can't do much with it. And I can't stockpile with it, so I have to sow it yet again. Let's sow it into this winter field, which will turn the Illimat. An 8. And we'll play this 8 to collect this 2 and 6. Yet another 8, of course. Coming up we have a 2. Boy, there's a lot of 10s on this board. I don't like that. What to do with this 8? I'm thinking of sowing it into this field with the 10s, but I don't think that's a smart choice, personally. There's already 3 10s on the board, and even if I were to stockpile the 2 with this 8, well, I wouldn't be able to. I'd just sow, and then I'd have to wait, because it's winter in this field anyways. So here we are, sowing it again. With this 2, I will sow. Where will I sow? I think I'll sow into the summer field because of this 9, and if I get an 11, I can take those. Let's draw a new hand. Okay, we have a 10, a 7, a 2, and a 3. Well, there was the 10 I was talking about. Okay. I think the best choice for us here is to... Oh, never mind. It's winter in this field. I can't take these 10s just yet. So I will take the 110 over here. We have a 7. I will take this 6. No, never mind. That's incorrect. I will not be doing that. Doing poor math over here. Wow, really unlucky hands. So I will be sewing yet again. Into spring. With a 2. I will take this 2. Really unfortunate so far. Now we have a 3. If I was any good at counting cards, maybe I would know the right choice. Unfortunately, I don't know how to count cards, so we'll sew it over there. Let's draw a new hand. An 11, a Knight of Autumn. Another 11 because our shuffling was so poor. A 4 of Stars. And an 8 of Summer. Okay. So with an 11, I can take this 11. Or I can take this 7 and 4. That would be more valuable for me. Actually, with this 11, I can take this whole field. When I harvest with a value, I can take any combination of cards that equal that value. So, with this 11, I can take this 7 and 4, as well as the 8 and 3, as they both equal 11. Playing the Knight of Autumn, of course, will rotate the Illimat. Once the field has been cleared for the first time, we reveal the Luminary, which is the Union. If I remember correctly, the Union plays differently in the Solitaire variant. In this, we'll read this section. When harvesting from the field of the Union, you may combine your current card with the next card in your hand. So you can harvest using 2 cards, but the choice is limited. Now that the Luminary is revealed, we will reseed the field with 3 new cards. Our next card is an 11 of Spring. Okay. I can no longer harvest this as it's winter in its field. An 11 of Spring. If I were to harvest from this field, I could use these 2 cards together as a 15. But that won't work for us. So I'm left with a sewing action, I believe. the Knight of Spring. Coming up, we have a 4 and an 8. I will. What will I do? I think I'll just sew over here with the 13, and it won't rotate the board. So now we have a question. Do I play this 4 to take this 4? Or do I play the 8 to take this 4? This 8. Sorry. I could take the 1 and the 7, or I could take the 1 and the 4. If I were to play these together, that would be 12. Can we do that? 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Not quite. What else can we do? I think I will just take... No, wait a minute. I should sew the 4 somewhere. If I sew the 4 somewhere, that will give me a better chance of collecting it later than with the 8. So, I will sew over here into the field of summer. And play this 8 to take this 7 and 1. Let's draw a new hand. The King of Autumn. The 3 of Summer. The Queen of Winter. And a 9 of Winter. I have a 13. Played together with the 3 is 16. I can't do that. So I will be harvesting here. Of course, the Illimat will turn. And we have a 3. I will take this 3. Now that this field has been emptied a second time, I can now claim the Union, which means we are 1/4 of the way through. I believe that since I've taken that card, I will not be able to reseed the field. Do not reseed the field. Sorry, I was just reading the booklet, but we will leave it fallow since there are no luminaries on that corner. Okay, and so play continues. We have a Queen of Winter to play, and nowhere extremely valuable to play it. So I will sow it here and rotate the board with a 9. I will take this 5 and 4. And we'll draw a new hand, a Queen of Autumn, 5 of Autumn, a Knight of Stars, and a King of Summer. Well, here we are again with my consequences of my poor shuffling, but that's okay. D12. Five, 11, and a 13. Oh boy. Not particularly excited about our hand. Well, ideally I want to use this 5 with the 6 to collect the 11s. So that leaves me with the 12. What do I do with the 12? And there's a 13. Dang. I don't want to sow the Queen into winter, because then I wouldn't be able to harvest in that field, so I will sow into summer and rotate with this 5. I will stockpile onto this 6 to make it an 11, since I have an 11 in my hand. I will play this 11, the Knight of Stars, to collect both this 11 and this 11. Playing the Knight of Stars means that I can rotate the board if I so choose. And I think I will. I'll rotate it to spring in its field. And we're left with the King of Summer. Now what to do with it? I'm thinking of sewing it here so it doesn't rotate the board. Okay. A 5 of summer. 6 of winter. 3 of stars. And a Fool of summer. Okay. about my hands so far. But with the 5, I can sow into spring and hopefully harvest it with my 14. Now we have a 6 and a 3. The 6. I will sow. What will I do with the 6? Can't sow here. Really, I don't believe I'm going to win this round. I can stockpile this 3 bow. I'm not sure why I would, to be honest. I'll stockpile it on 2. This Night of Spring to make that a 14. But I will harvest this 9 and 5, which will rotate the board. And this will now reveal our second luminary. Let's see if I can flip it. The rake. I'm actually not sure if the rake is legal in this variant. Let me see. Oh yes, this is incorrect. I need to pick a different card. Part of the rules of this variant is to not use the rake or the audience. Sorry, rake. In standard gameplay, when the rake is revealed, each player must sow a card into the field of the rake during their turn, on top of their normal action. So I'm going to pick one of these other cards. The Changeling. Let's read the Changeling. Once during your turn, you may exchange a card from your hand with a card in the same field as the Changeling. You may do this at any point in your turn, either before or after play. You can't exchange cards that are part of a stockpile. This act of exchange does not change the season. When you claim the Changeling, you may immediately exchange 2 cards from your hand for any other 2 cards on the board. Now, just to make sure the variant doesn't change it, I'm going to check my victory book. Here we go. You may use the power of the Changeling once with every 4-card hand. You can only exchange the card you are about to play. So, only once per 4-card hand, and only the card you're about to play. Okay, so let's reseed the changeling's field. A king of stars, a 4 of spring, and a 4 of winter. And we'll draw our new hand. A 9 of spring, a 7 of autumn, a 7 of summer, and a 2 of autumn. So I could exchange this 9 for a card in the field of the changeling. Let's think about that. When we look at the board, 9, 2 7s, and a 2. I could I could exchange one of the 7s for a 4. What would that do for us? And then I could harvest that same 7 with the other 7. That's an option available to us. I might do that. Okay. Alternatively, I could exchange the 9 for, I could take the 13. That's probably more valuable of a move. So let's do that. I am going to exchange this 9 for the King of Stars. And I can no longer exchange on this hand, but with this 13, I can harvest a 9 and a 4. Playing the King of Stars, I can rotate the board. And do I want to? I have 2 7s coming up, which is sort of a moot point, so I think I'm just going to leave the board as is. And do a cheeky sow and harvest, leaving us with a 2. I'm considering putting the 2 into this field to give us access to a 12, but there's already 2 12s in the field, and I don't remember. Well, we've had a lot of face cards, let's just say that. I'll sow over there and redraw. 6 of summer. That's perfect. An 8 of autumn. A 13 of winter. Apologies for bumping into my pop filter. Okay. Have some water. Well, we have a great play here that will give us the changeling. We can play the 6 to take the changeling. Or, we have a 12, a 14, and a 13 in that field. I'm considering using the changeling's ability. I can either take the 6 that's there, or I can exchange the 6 with the 4, which means I could still take the 6 and the 2 on my next play. It gives us access to the 4. What can we do with the 4 if we take it? With the 4, we could perhaps sew it over here in the hopes that we get a 14. No, I doubt that will happen. So, I'm just going to take this 4 and 2 and claim the changeling. Now, when claiming the changeling, I am allowed to exchange 2 cards with any cards on the field. So, what will I do? Or will I? If I exchange the, let's see, I have a 12 and a 13. There's not really anything valuable for me, so I'm not going to. I'm going to sew into this field. And I will. What will I do? Oh no. This is unfortunate. I'm going to play the King of Winter to take the King of Summer, which will rotate the board to Winter, leaving me unable to harvest this 12. So I will harvest this 12 instead and rotate. The 3 of Winter, a Queen of Summer, a 9 of Summer, and a 2 of Spring. Okay. 3, 12, and 9, and a 2. I will sew a 3 here and harvest this 12 and rotate. With a 9 and a 2. I will sew the 9 here and I'll sew the 2 there. Fool of Spring, 8 of Winter, 10 of Autumn, and a 6 of Spring. Well, we we got lucky and pulled a Fool, so I will harvest this 14 and rotate the board. We reveal our third Luminary, the River. Let's consult our books. The river will behave normally in this variant, so let's read the river. When the river is revealed, deal 6 cards into the river's field instead of the usual 3. If at the end of the hand you have claimed the river and you are frostbit, you gain 2 points instead of losing 2. Well, we're not gaining points in the solo variant, so. But we will need to sow 6 cards. Unfortunately, we cannot. And so, here we are on the last hand. I will harvest this 8. And I will harvest these 2 10s. And harvest this 6. And that's it. That's game. I have failed. I think next time I will spend a little bit more energy on shuffling the deck. Thank you for spending time with me today and allowing me to share this wonderful little game with you. I hope to play again soon.